it's Martha, and I have a special guest in the bunker today. This is Jillian. Can we call you Jillian, or do you go by Jill?
I go by Jillian.
Jillian.
Yeah.
So Jillian is one of our classmates in DS 106, and she agreed to join me today for this intro video for week four. And she's just going to be kind of hanging out here in the bunker. Do you like the bunker?
Yeah, it's nice.
So that's what we're going to do today. This week, Jillian, we are moving out of writing. We've been doing a lot of writing for the last 2 weeks. So we're going to be moving into photography and visual assignments. Do you take many photos? Are you a photographer?
I'm not a photographer.
That's okay. That's exactly what this week is for. Some of you probably have more experience with photography and some less. DS 106 isn't a photography class, but it is a storytelling class, and visuals are an important part of telling stories. Mm-hmm. So we have kind of two goals when it comes to photography this week. The first one is sort of improving our photography skills. Mm-hmm. The other thing we are going to be doing is we're going to start thinking about telling stories with photos. And I'm going to use this opportunity actually to switch over to your site, because you actually have this really wonderful photo that you've chosen for the header for your site. And I was wondering if you could tell us how you picked it and why you picked it.
So when I was looking through different themes, I found this one that was black and white, and it looked kind of spooky and cool. And I was sort of inspired by the options of photos they had. And then I went through my own photos, and I chose this, which I took in Oklahoma.
You took this picture?
I did take that
You're
picture.
A fantastic photographer, Jillian.
But so it looks like it's a mountain, but it's not.
What is it?
It is a chat pile, which is basically a pile of lead.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Dug up from mines.
That's so cool. This is fantastic. Tell me about the moment when you took this picture.
So I was biking with my friends, and we are actually trespassing a little bit. We were going pretty far, and we wanted to go farther, but there was barbed wire, so we couldn't go any further than that. Yeah, it was really cool. We took a group picture in front of it. But
now, is that the moon there?
That actually was the moon.
Yeah.
But it was day outside.
It was daytime when it happened.
Yeah.
It is such a great photo. Did you do anything in Photoshop afterwards, or was that the photo just as you took it?
Well, it was the photo, but then I turned it to black and white.
You turned it, so you'd use a filter to make it black and white. Well, it's fantastic. And it's perfect for our class.
Yeah.
It totally fits. I love it. See, now you were kind of playing coy and saying that you're not really a photographer, Jillian, but the truth is out now. So we're going to be doing that. We're going to be learning some tips from getting to be better photographers, thinking about telling stories with photos. We're also going to actually start watching some films this week. And I'm going to ask you guys to watch one short film. It's about 30 minutes long, and then a longer film. And in that longer film, to look for a moment that you find particularly effective in terms of how the camera is used. So that's what we're going to do. So films, photography, continue to work on our websites, participation points, continuing to read each other's. I've seen comments starting to pop up. Daily creates and weekly summary. That's not so bad, right?
No,
that sounds
too bad.
That sounds easy compared to last week, right? Okay. Yeah, I heard from people. Did you think last week was a lot of work?
Yeah. When I was watching the intro video, I was writing down and this assignment and this assignment. I was wow, that's a lot of assignments.
And talk about some general feedback that I want to give the entire class. And I'd love your thoughts about this stuff too, based on what I've been seeing over the last week. So one of these, and I think you do a good job of this, is making sure that you're including media in your posts. Mm-hmm. Do you work hard to do that, or is that?
I usually try to quickly find look up a little picture.
Yeah.
And I'm oh, that's good.
That's nice. Yeah. Where do you usually just go to Google Images?
Yeah, and there's also a website for GIFs.
Yeah, Giphy.
I think that's
I use Giphy a lot for this class. Here, I'll show you another great site. I'll share it with you, Jillian, and everybody else. There's a couple of these really awesome sites that have popped up in the last few years of public domain photos. So these are photos that you can use without even having to give credit, although you can if you want to. But they're photos by actual, really good photographers. And there's some really beautiful ones in here. And they're big, you can get them at high resolution. That's another thing that I always try to emphasize to students is sometimes when they upload photos, they'll put tiny little ones. I'm no, use as much of the canvas as you can with your photos. So Pixabay, that's what this one is. And there's another one called Unsplash, unsplash.com. So when you're really struggling for a visual, those are some places you can look. beyond just Google Images, because sometimes with Google Images you get kind of like, clip arty stuff, like not really good photography. So that's one. Also including links. People have been kind of like varied in terms of how well they're doing this right now. And I think sometimes students are like, why do you harp so much on that? But to me, like, links are how the web is created, and we're building websites. So linking to previous posts you've written. Oh, this is a big one. When you're doing a media assignment, linking somewhere in the post to the media assignment you did. Because believe it or not, I don't know all 700, 800, 900 media. So I'll read somebody's assignment and be like, I don't know what they were actually doing in that media assignment. So that's really helpful. So then let's talk about media assignments. What media assignments did you do this week, Jillian?
Yeah, so
Was this one here?
I believe this was one, yes.
A Dirty New World. Tell me what this is.
So that was like, I forget what the prompt was called, but it was like, so the apocalypse is not just focused on humans, like it has to do with other...
This is telling a story from the perspective. So what was this perspective of?
It was the perspective of a speck of dirt.
Oh, I love that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so basically, like, all living things were gone. So it's like, just the dirt is left, and now they're like, finally, some peace. Like, no.
Right, if they're leaving me alone, the story of dirt. That's fantastic. I love it. And you've got some images in here. So here's something that I'll tell you, and I'll tell everybody, and this is always something people kind of miss when we're getting started. When you write up your media assignments, I want to see, after you've done the assignment, you can put this at the bottom of the post, the story of doing the assignment. Okay. Does that make sense? Like, why you picked the assignment you did, how you approached completing it, what was difficult, what was fun, would you do this assignment again if given the choice? And does that seem weird, being asked to do that?
That makes sense.
It does, yeah.
I like that.
And sometimes I think students think it's weird because they're like, but I put this up there and I don't want to like spoil it by giving away the backstory. But so for everybody across the board, media assignments, always take some opportunity in those posts for your media assignments to talk about how you did the work, not just the work, what the work was. And then I think everybody is doing this, making sure that when you're doing media assignments out of the assignment bank that you're using the tags in the assignment on your website. And then the last piece of advice that I will give, and this is also one that everybody kind of struggles with, is, here I'll switch off of your post now, is to think about every assignment as an opportunity to tell a little story. So a good example of this would be the products of the apocalypse that everybody did this week, or last week if you're watching this tomorrow. So the idea of that was to write an Amazon review of a product. You did the hammock, right? Yeah. But some people did great reviews of the actual product, but what I really love to see is when people push and actually tell a story in the review, right? Like where the review itself actually becomes a tiny little flash fiction about something that happened and the product being part of that story. Do you know what I mean? So does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember if your hammock one had a little arc in it or not.
Maybe a little.
Maybe a little. There you go. It's a process.
Yeah.
All of this is a process. We're all just getting our feet underneath us. So that's it for week 4. So then I just want to debrief with you a little bit, Jillian. And how do you like this class?
I really like it. It's really fun.
Are you saying that just because you came in to make a video?
It's really interesting. Yeah, like I've definitely never had the opportunity to do all these creative writing assignments. I haven't taken a writing class yet, so it's like,
so
wow,
this is
it's pretty fun.
It's fun. And, so is the class what you expected?
I didn't know what to expect.
You didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
Now, did you get my scary email?
The scary email. I read it to my mom.
What did she say?
She's like, "Oh, are you sure you want to take this class?" I was like, "Yeah, I think."
Remind me of your own. I try to keep everybody's story straight, but I probably won't. Like, did you already have an interest in this particular genre of apocalyptic and post-apocalyptic, or is this kind of new to you?
No, yeah, I don't really read or watch apocalyptic.
Yeah, it's not your thing. So, I had a feeling that was the case, which is fine. Like, I was a little worried about people coming in with that they may be like, oh my gosh. What have you thought so far of what you've read? It's okay, you can be honest.
I don't love everything that I've read, but it's interesting. And my friends find it hilarious when I'm tweeting out things about the apocalypse. They're like, "You're crazy."
Are your friends like, this isn't even like you? Like, is this totally out of character for you?
Yeah, a little bit.
To be doing it?
Yeah.
So you read There Will Come Soft Rains, and Finis.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't like Finis.
Yeah,
you thought it was really corny?
Much. Yeah, and like, it seemed like almost a little sexist, which makes sense for the time.
For the time. It is definitely sexist. I think, and I may have said this in a comment on your blog, and maybe some others who had thoughts about this story, that what shocks me about that story is that it was written in 1906. Mm-hmm. And I had to kind of remind myself of that at certain parts of it, because it doesn't feel like over 100 years old. Do you know what I mean? Like, the writing itself, it doesn't feel like, I don't know, like classic literature. Yeah. It feels like it has a more modern sensibility to it, which I thought was interesting. But it's also super dated. Yeah. And the kiss at the end is a little contrived. Was that really necessary? But did you like There Will Come Soft Rains better?
Yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah.
It was cool.
That's a really interesting one. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot because somebody else had this question in their post. I don't think it was you. About the shadows on the wall. Mm-hmm. Did you understand what those were in the story? What the shadows were from? It's okay if you didn't.
Not really sure.
That's totally fine. And it's interesting because I realized that my knowing what that was has as much to do with my age and like the historical moment that I grew up in. Mm-hmm. So the shadows on the wall, this is super dark, sorry, is a reference to after the bombing of Hiroshima. Oh. They discovered, because that was the first time they had really used these weapons on humans, they discovered that people's shadows, they weren't really actually their shadows, on walls of the city you could see left behind the shadow of a human who had essentially been obliterated. So the reason that matters is that if you don't know that and you don't read that, then you don't realize that what that story is really about is a post-nuclear apocalypse. Wow, yeah. So that house has survived while everybody else has been destroyed by some kind of nuclear event. That's what the shadows are supposed to be a reference to. But I grew up when the Cold War was still a thing. And so in the 80s, like when I was a kid, I totally knew about that from learning about Hiroshima, and it was just part of the sensibility, right? Like we just kind of knew that. And it didn't occur to me that for your generation, and a couple of students were like, why are there shadows of people on the wall? What does that mean? Yeah. So what did you make of it? Were you just like,
I was
weird?
thinking like it had something to do with like the fire and something apocalyptic, but I wasn't exactly sure.
But you weren't quite sure what it was, So interesting. Well, I hope you continue to enjoy it. Things are, I also mean to ask, how are you feeling? Just like generally, how are you feeling? Well, there's been a lot going around, like bugs, viruses, like...
I had like a sore throat like last week, and it
went away. It never got really bad?
No, surprisingly. I was really afraid.
Yeah.
Because everyone's getting the flu.
I know. There's been some crazy stuff going around. So I was sick last week, and this was weird. This has never happened to me before. Have you ever gotten sick and felt better after you got sick than you were before you got sick? Like, I felt really good. Like, not while I was sick. While I was sick, I felt sick. But then shortly after I got better, I was like, oh, I have so much energy, and I feel just sort of like good, like real. And I was like, I don't know if it's like the flu that's going around or whatever, but I was just curious because I was under the weather. Some other people I know have been under the weather. Everybody stay healthy. Wash your hands. If you don't have access to soap and water, use hand sanitizer. But soap and water is better. I just know that because I'm a mom. Anything else that you'd like to share?
I don't think so. Okay. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Jillian. Thanks for coming in. If anybody else wants to join me in the bunker on for these videos, just give me a shout out in Slack and we'll arrange something. All right.
Thank you.
And I'll see you some other time.